ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಇವಾಗ ಶ್ರೀಧರ್ ಅವರು ಈ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಅಂತ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಮುಂದೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, we have to ask fundamental questions as to why we need an education policy. What makes a society a great society? What makes a civilization a great civilization? What makes a civilization a sustainable civilization? The one thing that makes its civilization sustainable is its knowledge system. And those civilizations which have a deep root of knowledge and create knowledge are the ones that can sustain. And nobody can ever take away the knowledge systems that will be in the DNA of people. If you look around the world, there are only three distinct knowledge systems in the world. One is the Western system starting with Greece, then the Romans, the Dark Ages came, and then they started again. Then is the Indian system going back to antiquity, which have its own impact on what we did through our Vedas, our knowledge systems, our universities, etc. The other is the Chinese system. The Chinese system also is rooted in antiquity and is a very great civilization. Now the Western system dominated the world for some time because of the Industrial Revolution. It degenerated into the Dark Ages because the medieval church came and destroyed the spread of knowledge after Christianity took over the Greeks and destroyed the Greeks' knowledge system because they wanted to bring in dogma, and dogma controlled everything. And then the Islamic system flourished in the 12th, 13th century because Islam started to become the bridge between India and the West. In fact, many Islamic scholars translated the Indian works, took the Indian mathematical work, the Indian algebra work, the Indian notational system, and the Indian medicinal system, science system, wrote about it and acted as the bridge between the East and the West. And in the 13th century, when they started saying that everything is about science, technology, everything that has to be learned in the Quran and nothing more can be done, that led to the decline of the Islamic civilization. Now we have the Indian civilization, which flourished for a long period of time because the civilization was based upon the spirit of inquiry. The most fundamental question we asked ourselves is, what is the reason for our existence? What is the purpose of life? And that occupied everybody, and that was an unending question because nobody could come out with a great answer, and there were multiple streams of reason, and these multiple streams of reason led to the flowering of great thought, because we believe that everybody can think, can have their own views, and ultimately we come to one destination, whatever the destination is, and it flourished. So we have the fluorescence of all kinds of thought coming into this country. And with the Chinese, they developed their own system of knowledge, but the Chinese always said, because the spread of Buddhism, they looked to the West for knowledge. And we were the West. The Chinese scholars came here. Because India had the most ancient, greatest universities ever. Takshila in the west of India and Nalanda in the east, Vikramashila. There were some 13 or 14 university system that existed. In Nalanda it was said that every young person came to Nalanda, they came to the university gate and there was a Dwarapal. And the Dwarapal asked the young man or woman questions. And only when you answer the question will you let inside. So there's an entrance test. Everybody could not come in. There were some 10,000 students and 2,000 faculty members, and they had full autonomy. They had full autonomy. Nobody told them curriculum, this and all, because we follow the old Gurukula system, and the West, the Greeks followed the academy system. The Chinese had their own school. So this was what it was till the Industrial Revolution. It is important to understand how things develop. The Industrial Revolution created the next phase of education because in the Industrial Revolution, they were the machine age. The machines came into being. The machines provided standardization. The machine had large production runs. The machines make sure that quality standards could be maintained. But that's the standardization, one way of thinking, dogma, and therefore you have the current education system, Education 2.0, where there's one professor, he has read all the books. So he comes and talks to all of you, you take down the notes, he gives a test, you pass the exam, you get a piece of paper, and you get a job. And why do you get a job? Because the industry is developing and the jobs are plenty and educated people are required. and knowledge was in the hands of a few people. In the earlier era too, it was in the hands of a few people, but here too, it is in the industrial era, it is in the hands of a few people, those who are read. That was the second phase, education 2.0. Then the third phase of education is an education system where knowledge is freely available for everybody. The accumulated knowledge of humankind is available on the web. The greatest questions have been answered by the best professors. The greatest videos, the greatest formulae, everything is available. You can go to the web with a piece of, with just a cellular phone, a smartphone with a data plan, and you get everything. So you don't have to put everything into your hard disk and recall memory. Because all you have to learn is how to Google or how to ask the questions and people answer your questions. There's no need for everything to be inside because it's available. But what is important is to use all the data and the knowledge to solve problems. So you have to develop a problem-solving attitude because education 3.0 is all about creativity, is all about problem solving, is all about a very competitive, globalized society. And that is what it is. And then, what makes a country powerful? Why is the United States the most powerful country in the world? The United States is the most powerful country in the world, not because President Trump has a big fat button which he can press to blow up the world, because when Putin can press that to blow up the world, and Kim can press that to blow up his own country. I don't know what else he can do. And of course, Imran Khan has got some button there which you don't know what it will do, and you don't know what it is. But America is the greatest country in the world because of its university system. There is innovation, there is research, the greatest scientists, the best minds in the world go there. India has sent 190,000 young people to America. 60% of them are doing graduate studies. 35 to 40% of computer science and STEM courses are by Indian students. So India has sent a lot of people there, brightest people want to go there because we have destroyed our higher education system as far as the master courses and the PhD courses are concerned in this country because we are not fostered quality in the Nehruvian worldview, right? But the United States is the greatest country. So in this modern era, if you want to be a great society, if you want to be competitive, you have to build a world-class, highly competent, highly topical higher education system and the education system starting from the school level. And that is why we need a policy which is a 21st century policy with a 21st century architecture to dominate the 21st century and become a great country. Today our GDP is $2.7 trillion. We are the 5th largest in the world. By 2030 our GDP will be $10 trillion. We will be the 3rd largest in the world, China number 1, America number 2, and India number 3. Could we overtake America? Maybe in the next 20-30 years. Can we overtake China? Maybe we can. But we will be among the 3 great economies in the world. Even in today, in PPP, we are $10.3 trillion. China is about 25, the United States is about $20 trillion. But in the PPP, nominal, we have to be there. So our economic growth is going to be there in the next 12 years to go up to a high level. So we have to create an education system and a university system to meet that. We cannot get technology from outside. We cannot be importers. We have to educate our people and we have to do all this. And that is why a new education policy is required. Now, what kind of education policy do we need? All right. Now, let us look at what we have. Today, in school education, almost all children go to school. For the last 30 years, we have been producing 2.5 crore babies. Last 30 years every year, 2.5 crore babies. Sadly, in the whole of South India, our fertility has come to 1.8, below replacement. In Kerala, 9% is Bihari, and the Keralas have increased the population by only 5% over 10 years, and very soon the Malayalis will become a minority there because the Biharis are coming over. Because for the Biharis and people from the east, Kerala is the new Dubai. A unskilled worker gets 750 rupees, skilled worker gets 1,500 rupees, etc. So the great migration happening all over this country. The south of India is seeing a decline in fertility, static population and aging. The north of India is seeing an increasing population, even the fertility is coming down. And fertility is coming down in all communities. In the last 10 years, from 2003-4 to 2013-15, in the Muslim community, literacy went up by 30%. Fertility came down from 3.56 to 2.56. So this theory that Muslims are going to dominate India is not correct as per data. They may be 10 years behind the rest of the population, and the Jains, our friend Jains, are not producing enough babies. They just have a fertility of 1.2. They could disappear in the next 30 years like Japan. So we're seeing this kind of demographic change all over this country, and we must meet this kind of a demographic change. So we have to create an education system for the future. So all our children are in school. Now if 100 kids come to class 1, by the time they come to class 10, about 75 pass from class 10, 25 drop out. Out of the 75, about 70% pass, 50 go to class 11 and 12, and 35 finish class 12. Out of 35, 26 go to college. That's why we have 3.6 crore people in college. We have 950 universities, 51,000 colleges, 41,000 plus vocational institutions, 51,000 colleges. This is the education system that you have today. So Dr. Sridhar has given you some solutions. What are the ills of this schooling system? First of all, schools start at 6. Now we know that children pick up ability because of the environment starting from the age of 2 and 3. The brain is plastic, the brain develops 75-80% by the time the child is 6, is there in the report. So the child has to get an external stimulus. Now in a competitive society, the middle class and children, middle class and richer class, send their kids to play school. What do the poor do? The poor cannot send in their children to school because there is no facility. Send them to an Anganwadi, the substitute the government is doing. Now if you want to create an egalitarian society, every child should have a policy. So you must start from 3, and this commission has recommended that, and that is very, very good news. The children have to get this kind of a stimuli starting from class 3. Then how much education should a child require? All around the world there is a consensus that 12 years of proper schooling is required. That's what is called high school in the United States. Because most people should do high school. So now they brought in 12 years. The RTE has only 8 years. So 12 years mandatory education for every child should be given, and that should become a constitutional mandate, and it should be free for everyone. And that I commend them for doing that, because 12 years is required. After 12, they go for higher education. It's up to them, even though we want many people to do the degree. Now what are the difficulties in the school education? In the school education today, 40% is private. And then most people go to private because they teach English. They want the English language. Why the English language? Because English is becoming the operating language for business, for getting jobs, etc. And all parents believe that knowing English. But English doesn't have to be the medium of instruction. English can be a language. The medium of instruction has to be your mother tongue. My mother tongue is Konkani, so don't force things on me, but that's about the fact. And before you bash me up, I must warn you, I'm a minority under Article 2930. You know that? So, no minority bashing. But the mother tongue, because the child speaks to the mother tells the language. But sadly today, I see Kannadigas in the airport, they take a small child 2 years, and the child says, Baba black sheep. And the mother says, Baba black sheep. The child says, Baba black sheep. Nothing about all those small songs our mothers used to sing to us in Kannada and Konkani or whatever language. Why don't we teach them in their own mother tongue? Up to class 5, then they can choose. So the language and the medium of instruction is very important, because the medium of instruction should be natural, it should be something, but English should be spoken as a operating language. It can be a language, and then we can do. Now why is language important? Because content is created in language. What is the mistake we made in our languages? We have not created content in our languages. In France, they teach in French. In Germany, German. China, Chinese. Japan, Japanese. Why is that? Because they translated the world's knowledge into their own language. We are not translated. So when content is less, the only way to get content to the rest of the world is to go to English. So forcing our own people to give up our languages, we need our languages, we have to invest, and we have to translate, so content is available. So the language policy has been set, even though some journalists in Tamil Nadu try to blow it up. They're misled, they're trying to play politics. I don't think people in Karnataka should fall into the trap. Please read that, that's good. But the language policy, pedagogy, why should we stuff information? Why should we stuff so many things into them? They address the language pedagogy, the use of technology. Then how do you handle differences in society? Today, the people who got money want to go to a private school. Why? They feel they teach English and the private school teaches better. But government spends enormous amount of money on primary education. Karnataka spends maybe 25,000 crores on primary education. There are 3 lakh teachers there. We got enough schools, but the schools are empty. The number of children in Karnataka came down from 12 lakhs to 10 lakhs, but in 2003-4 and right now in 2019, out of which the government school system today is only about 45-50%, and it was 65% earlier 10 years ago. So it's coming down. So we need to buttress government schools because public spending has to be there for schools. You cannot force them to come, but parents should have a choice. You can go to public schools, you can go to private schools, you can go to any school of your choice, but you must have the choice, and all schools should give some education. Now the National Education Fund has spoken about people who are left behind. We have communities who are poor, they're left behind. We have people of certain groups and communities which are left behind, or certain religions who are left behind. Now they have come out with policy. What do you do for special cases to bring up every child up to a level where they get access to the same quality of education? Now whether they learn or not is left to them, but access should be the same, and that's what we've done without forcing people to go into the school system. And then I positively love this because the co-curriculum, curriculum and extracurriculum, all that is gone. So you can be a school graduate with focus on cricket. You can be a singing star. You can be a musician. You can be everything else. You know why? At the time of technology disruption, when technology like AI is disrupting everything, there are three kinds of jobs which will be impacted. The first job is where you use the left brain and the right brain. The creative aspect and the logical aspect, both are important. If the creative aspect is not there, you are not problem solving, you don't know what to think, you're not going to succeed in future. Those jobs will remain. The rule-based job which all of us do, sit in an office and do some work, follow a rule, they're going to be automated. Chatbots, AI is going to come and take away the jobs, and that's in danger. And the lower level job like a masseur or a hairdresser will remain, but they don't pay very well. So our children, if they want to succeed, should have the creative ability, should have the analytical ability, the problem solving attitude, and by having everything in this curriculum, making them specialize in various areas, we are going to create a different society, and that's why we must commend this. Now what happens in higher education? Dr. Sridhar pointed out everything else. Now, the biggest challenge in higher education is universities don't have autonomy. Why should UGC decide which university will do what course to give? Why should a set of people sitting in Delhi decide? Why should a set of people sitting in Vidhan Sabha decide what a VC is? In our society, the Rajguru had the primacy of place. India is the only society in the world where the knowledge makers are the learned ones were top of the totem pole and the king came second. The person with the bull or the person with the arms was second in the totem pole. When the Rajguru came into the assembly to the king's court in the darbar, the king came down, washed his feet, invited him, made him sit on a throne higher than him. Why? Because we respected knowledge. This is our society. But today we create a system where a vice chancellor has to sit outside the secretary's door. Why? Because secretary gives money. And they call him after some time. And the vice chancellor is chosen on extraneous consideration. We know what happens. The governors and others choose the vice chancellors, and we know how the system works. And the universities don't have autonomy. Whether you're a private university, deemed to be, not deemed to be, whatever university, you don't have autonomy. So they recommend you must give autonomy to universities and let the universities flourish or die based upon what they do. Because the difference between a good institution and a bad institution is management. Why is a school good? Because the school management is good. Why is the school bad? Because the management is bad. It's not whether you're private, public, who owns you and all that. Doesn't matter. Whether you have good management and bad management, and in your system to have good management, you need to have autonomy. And that I think is a very interesting thing. And then multidisciplinary focus. Extreme specialization cannot happen. I'm from the technology industry. As head of HR, I have hired more than 200,000 people, 2 lakh people, and trained 250,000 people. Let me tell you the frightening things. The people we hired are engineers. They're techies. They don't have human empathy, human relationship. They get married, 2 people live together, and suddenly there's a fight. The girl or boy says, I'm going to your mother's house. He says, okay. I won't come back. Okay. There's no empathy, no relationship. There is no, emotion between bonding. We need emotion. We are emotional creatures. Why is that? Because we're not exposed to liberal art. We're not exposed to great literature. We're not exposed to music. We're not exposed to the art. Because these humanize people. Engineering makes you a very logical, analytical person without reason. But you need to have reason. That is only an algorithm. So you need all these things to be creative. Because you can't be sequential. You've got to be a lateral thinker. So creating multidisciplinary universities, Creating a place where you can have science, technology and arts is very important, and you can mix and match and create degrees. Today, why are children frustrated in college? Because I can't mix and match. I want a degree in science, in let's say chemistry, with a minor or a major in music, and I want cricket as a subject, and I want to do logic, and I want politics. Can I get the degree? I cannot. But I want it. Why do I want it? I just like it. So you must give the flexibility, because education has to be student-centric. This policy is student-centric and not authority-centric. So I must commend you, sir, for doing all that, and that's important. And then, universities have two primary things, objectives: creation of knowledge and dissemination of knowledge. Now, the committee has recognized every university, every professor can't do research. Some are great teachers, some are great researchers. Great researchers could be lousy teachers. Good teachers can be bad researchers because of an attitude. Now you must let people teach or do research or do a bit of both. But don't force people to say, you must have a PhD, you must do research, everybody should write something. It's not going to happen. So the three-way classification: research-based teaching institution, teaching-based institution which do research, and then community colleges or degree-giving colleges. Fantastic hierarchy. And in that hierarchy, the policy recommends that a student can join any one of them. You're not compelled to join only here or there. You can join anyone, you can go anywhere, depending upon entrance and depending upon what you do, and there's flexibility. And once you are a community college, degree-giving college, you are not stuck with that. Next, you can improve and become a teaching university. If you put more money, more research, you can become a research. You are not bracketed, you are not force-fitted, you are just classified, you have the ability to go. I think that is fantastic, and that is fantastic. That's great. The next thing is about the research foundation. Research requires public money. You can't do research with fees. Can a private university do research collecting fees from students? You can't do that. So you need public funding. Creating a national research foundation which will give grants to colleges and universities on a competitive basis, on a peer research basis is fantastic. And it all comes because he ran an experiment as a secretary of the Knowledge Commission. He had a small amount of 25 lakh rupees. I remember sitting with him in the Knowledge Commission when he invited all colleges to come. And we used to get some college from a remote place, Bagalkot, I don't know, Bagalkot, some other remote place in Karnataka. They used to come and write some research proposal. And Dr. Sridhar used to tell us, look, they have at least come and written a proposal, give them 2 lakhs. No, don't bother about quality, let them give them 2 lakhs. And I think all of them did something useful because they started thinking. Education is about thinking. We force them to think, we recognize them, and we give them a leg up. So it has to be in a content basis. Right now, research money is given to IITs, only public universities owned by the government, not the private sector. So this discrimination of private, public. Because let's understand one thing. All educational institutions are designed for our children, for our students. Everything is the same. Government is no bigger owner than anybody else. You can't create a caste system where government is the top and the private at the bottom, because the end result is education. I think the Research Foundation, in fact, I went to the PMO sir this time and said, we want a 5,000 crore annual grant to be given to this foundation, and this 5,000 crores should be non-lapsable, maybe it should be demanded in parliament. 5,000 crores, No, I'll tell you, 5,000 crores per year, because 20,000 is not give. Nirmala doesn't have money, fiscal deficit. No, so you can ask what you want. Tell them 5,000 crores. And the policy is 20,000 over a period of time, non-lapsable, because you can't spend 5,000 a year. There's no capacity to spend. He will create a corpus, let it be run by academics, not by bureaucrats. And let it be peer review. He's got the mechanism. He's done it in Karnataka in a small way. He can write the paper. I think that is fantastic. And then the most important thing is, what should government do? Now we need a government. We need a parliament where a country governed by the rule of law, and therefore we need young people like Tejasvi to go to parliament and create laws for us, because we have to be a country governed by the rule of law. Now, what should be the role of the government? The most important thing is the role of the government. The government has 3 roles. Policy maker. As a policy maker, you must make policy for the entire country, because the entire country is under the government, center or state. As a policy maker. And the policy should not discriminate against the private sector or any sector or favor the government sector. Policy should be independent, right? And that's important. And national education policy will lead to it. Second, you've got to be the regulator. Now, regulator means, regulator is the person who looks at whether the policy is being implemented, guidelines are being implemented, the money given by the public or the parliament is properly spent. And the regulator should be light touch regulator, should not interfere with autonomy universities, so the role has to be distinct. And the third, government is a provider of education. Government is like a provider of education like a private college, private university. Why should you say, if government has a school where everybody fails is okay, but a private sector, if they have a school, everybody fails is not okay? Everything is the same. If a state university is bad, it is bad. Private university is bad, it is bad. So we have bad, good, and very good. Not saying state is okay, private is not okay. So we, as a provider of service, they must be held accountable. They must be held to the same standard. The regulators should ensure that all of them there and they're not the favorite pick. So the separation of power is very critical. All these have been mixed. Dr. Sridhar's committee, Dr. Kassan's committee has separated all that. And then they have recommended special provisions for various things. They recommended the use of technology, recommended everything else. I want to end here by saying the entire architecture and structure is very well thought out. It is very sustainable, it's very flexible, it's student-centric, and it has the role defined for all constituencies, and it has the potential to give freedom. To give freedom to the academics, to give freedom to the universities, the freedom of choice to young people. Because in democracy, there are two important things that you must have. You have to have choices, freedom of choices and the freedom of choice. What are the freedom of choices? You can do many things and you're free to do and you have the ability to do, you have access. Second, you must have the freedom to do choice, take the choice. The freedom to do the choice comes because government will fund education. So we need, sir, a national scholarship program, where no child will be deprived of higher education for want of means. Tejasvi, nobody in this country, no young person should be deprived of the dream because they can't go to a college. They must be given scholarship, they must be given fees, and that we must do. If that's the way to build a country. We can't build a country of unequals. That may be something that must put in a policy, a funding mechanism for those people below the poverty line. For example, Narendra Modi government has set 10% reservation to 50% for economically challenged. Now we need a scholarship. For the minority, they announced 5 crore scholarship. But that must be extended to all people below a income level. So nobody is deprived. It's like Akshay Patra. We say that no child should be deprived of education because of hunger. No child should be deprived of education because of wanted means. And in your constituency, you must make sure that every young person who voted for you, even if they don't vote for you, but in your constituency, they get a scholarship, they can go to college. So I'll end here by complimenting Dr. Sridhar. And let me give you one secret. Entire committee, let me give you one small secret. Dr. Kasurangan and Sridhar headed the Knowledge Commission. Many of the recommendations and the debates of that, many of it he has returned, and the same experience of that is now going to the national level. So our own Kannadigas are exported. Thank you.
Thank you.